What can I say about a 25-year-old girl who died? Spoiler alert, Oliver! That's what you say. Spoiler alert. For crying out loud, man. God! Hello there! Welcome back to Zero Production Value Movie Reviews. I'm Hoernke, and today I'm going to be discussing 1970 film Love Story, directed by Arthur Hiller. This was my first time watching this classic romance, and all I really knew about it was the tagline, the whole love means never having to say you're sorry. Other than that, I really didn't have a whole lot to go on. This is I believe this was a very sentimental movie for a generation of people that took solace in the sweet, tender, ultimately tragic love story. It was based on a wildly popular book. At the time, the film was an instant success. It was commercial as well as critical success. It was nominated for 7 Academy Awards, including Best Picture, Best Director for Arthur Hiller, Best Actor and Actress for Ali McGraw and Ryan O'Neal. Also at the time, it became one of the highest domestic grossing films of all time at the box office for that time. So this is sort of a star-crossed lovers story, although not so star-crossed as the Bard's famous couple. The main source of the disconnect here seems to be family, social standing, and wealth disparity kind of thing. So sort of a class struggle-ish story. Mr. Oliver Barrett IV, played by Ryan O'Neal, is ridiculously wealthy and has a flawed relationship with his family, to say the least. And then there is Jennifer Cavalieri, who is from much more modest means and has a very good relationship with her father. And this occurs despite them basically both going to Harvard. Well, he goes to Harvard and she goes to Radcliffe, which is essentially was absorbed into Harvard, may have been distinctly separate at that time, I'm not quite sure. But in any case, Oliver sees Jenny and immediately pursues her, and she basically plays him off, calling him preppy. So sort of on the grounds of this disparity, she just doesn't seem to think that he's going to be very serious about her. And the term preppy, which is initially used as mockery, eventually becomes sort of a pet name for him that would follow throughout the course of the story. But eventually, of course, her resolve wanes and she falls in love with the sweet hockey jock, and together we see like a brief montage of them basically falling in love very quickly. So, as I said, Oliver has an extremely strained relationship with his family, and he essentially gets cut off from them, gets cut out of the, not really disowned, but his dad basically says he's not going to give him a red cent if he chooses to marry her, and so he chooses her over monetary wealth. They get married, they graduate from school, they move to New York City. She gets terminally ill, she dies, credits roll. So, if that seems pretty abrupt, that's kind of how it felt in the story too. It feels very quick. So, let me say what I did find done well in this movie is their love story. The love story is the best part of Love Story. They have a very easy, good chemistry. I love their interaction, and especially Jenny is, like I said, played by Ally McGraw with her quick wit and, sweet banter. Their interactions and everything regarding them feels very authentic and organic, which is a very good, a hallmark of very good script and very good acting in everybody's part. That being said, I parsed it out, and there are two very huge main plot point problems that essentially sink what probably could have been a very, very good movie and only to essentially a middling movie in my estimation. So one has to do with Oliver's estrangement from his father. So in order to buy where these kids sort of end up, you have to first buy his estrangement from his father. Now, they present his father as very disagreeable and dispassionate, and Oliver believes him to be a demanding taskmaster who gets his way. It's like his way or the highway kind of thing, and has mainly, I guess, always kept Oliver under his thumb and maybe dictated what Oliver was supposed to do. However, that's all just impressions that we get. The actual interactions that we see, Oliver, the kid, is much more the aggressor. He's much more like borderline, like angry, aggressive, borderline maniac when it comes to dealing with his father. Like, he has this set mindset. In fact, when he brings Jenny to meet his parents, like, they sit down and immediately he's like, well, we got to be going. And you're just it takes Jenny by surprise, and she just kind of rolls with it, and you're kind of like, what? But now, could there be a reason for his extreme reaction to his dad and everything having to do with his father? Sure. He's lived an entire life with this guy, and I'm sure maybe that has built up whatever level of animosity he has. I'm just saying we never get that presented to us on screen that makes that relationship believable in that way. Sure, his father seems to suffer from a lack of emotion and social niceties, but that's hardly a fatal flaw. That doesn't make him a bad guy. And in fact, the only thing that we see him do that is questionable is, in fact, cut Oliver off from the family. And he doesn't demand he not marry Jenny. He just demands that they wait until after school. He doesn't even say, you got to leave this girl or anything like that. So they don't really paint him with a super negative brushstroke. However, Oliver just has negative all up and down on this guy. So trying to regulate that, and then they start to make it a big deal that he's cut off from the family and he's not going to have any money. But then the next thing we see, he's graduating from school, so we're kind of like, well, I guess that wasn't the problem. So in the second flaw, and probably the even more important one, and I believe this is, I haven't researched it at all, but I think this has probably prompted a lot of people to question this movie, or at least this sequence, is Jenny's mysterious illness. So the doctor goes to Oliver, the husband, at first, which is odd, and tells him, essentially, hey, your wife is terminally ill and she's going to die. But let's not tell her right now, and we can withhold treatment for a while. And I'm just going like, what? Like, why? If she's terminally ill and there is treatment, why would you not be doing that? It just seemed crazy. Not to mention that you're going to tell the husband and then not even tell her. That seems to be violating some sort of law or Hippocratic oath or something like that in my book. But who knows? In any case, she finds out pretty quick anyway. And then two parts to that. They never reveal the nature of the illness, and I'm sure they did it for a reason, but the reasons are unknown to us. It's just mysterious illness, and the only clue that we get is they look for a hematologist, so that's a blood disease, I suppose. But anyway, so they never reveal the nature of her illness, and as part of that, we never see any deterioration in her whatsoever. She literally goes from fine to, I think I should go to the hospital, to dead. And it's just, it's stunning. It's absolutely stunning. And it takes all of the emotion out of that. Now, maybe I guess they didn't want to dwell on the illness. They wanted to dwell on the love story part. But it's so disingenuous to not see any deterioration in her health, or at least not explain, if you're not going to see deterioration, explain why you're not seeing deterioration. It was just completely disingenuous. It completely removed the emotional impact of what should have been an extremely emotional thing. And all we're left is to get some emotion from Oliver as he runs out of the hospital, and we see him sitting on a bench lamenting, which is right where we come in. It just, to the point where he lays down on the bed with her and comes out, and you're not thinking anything, and he's like, "Oh, she's dead," as he screams at his father, who happens to show up because he found out she was in the hospital. And I was like, "What? She's dead?" I mean, they didn't even show anything. They showed nothing. It was ridiculous. So I like the sweet love story, the banter of them as far as the script is concerned, but the flaws that they put into this movie, to me, are major flaws. And had they just kind of done something with that, I would have appreciated this movie a lot more. That is, as it stands, it is a sweet story. I give this, it just keeps it at a kind of a middling level for me, a little bit better than average. I don't think it's deserving of its cult status as this classic romance, or of its Oscar nomination, but I think it speaks to a generation who at the time was rebelling against the establishment. So for all that, I'm going to give the 1970 film Love Story, directed by Arthur Hiller, a C+. I love you. I appreciate you. Thanks for watching my movie review. As always, I'm Eric Hoernke, rhymes with turnkey. Like, subscribe, ring the bell, leave some comments, talk to me, or don't. As always, this has been a production of Zero Value.